Good evening! Welcome to another show of Easy 8's Online Painting Club. My name's Danny, it says it right down in the bottom there. I hope you've had a great week. I've had a smashing week. The successes for this week are that we are getting more and more subscribers. After last week's show, we had 3, and that's really good for 1 week. Like I say, we're a small show, we're a humble show, and word is starting to spread, and people are waiting for us before we even came online again today. Luke Gallier says, got here just in time. Kyle says, me too. He's waiting just on the side. He'll be here in just a minute, don't worry. And Dave Lester, good evening. Nice to see you again, guys. Thanks for coming along today. If you're new to Easy 8 or you just need a bit of a memory jog, Easy 8 isn't a tutorial channel. We're a live stream painting club. So the idea is that once a week you can come online Fridays from 7 to 9 GMT, and you can just enjoy a little bit of company for a bit of motivation to get your models painted. You don't have to be a war gamer. You could just be painting anything. You could be painting a picture for all I really care. It doesn't matter. The idea is that you come along for a little bit of company, and maybe you want to talk about some technical stuff, get some ideas, share some cool stuff that you've learned or have done, and that's what we're all about here. So if you've got a backlog of grey plastic, bring them along every week, and hopefully you might find the motivation or hopefully even the inspiration to get some of your backlog painted. As always, I am not alone. I am joined by Kyle. Here he is. Say hi, Kyle.
Hey everyone, good evening.
Yeah, bright bubbly. Once again, Kyle, you have changed the location, and it looks really well lit there today.
Thank you. I'm trying every week. I'm trying to get a little bit better. I've made a big change up, so I'm no longer sat on the floor because my old body can't cope with that.
What is this? So, shock, horror, gasp.
Yeah, I have invested in a garden chair so I don't have to sit on the floor anymore.
Excellent. Well, last week you had the botanical layout. You had plants and everything coming in from the side of the shot. Today we seem to have like a yellow motif going on in the background. Yellow is the colour.
Bit of artwork from a local artist where I'm from. If I could have remembered the name, I'd have definitely shouted them out. I've got a little bit of the plant life because in my house we can't be too far away.
There we are. I was gonna say we couldn't quite see. You need to bring it in the shop, but no, we could see it. No, you gotta have all the plants and things. Yeah. So we've got another comment going in. Oi oi from Jeff Lacey, who says specifically, "Hi Kyle, you got your own fan club, mate. How's that?" Yeah, cool.
I made it again. Hi Jeff.
Of course, Jeff and Kyle are best of friends now because they've not only been sharing cool pro tips and things like that, but also equipment, because Kyle didn't have a decent set of brushes. Jeff had loads and sent them to him with a T34 1/100 scale model tank. Look at that. And that's what this community is about. So if you are new, or if you just haven't done it yet, please don't forget to like and follow all of our stuff that we do. We aren't just here on YouTube. We are also on YouTube, Facebook and Instagram. There's a couple of other platforms that we're on as well, but we're not really big enough to be using those yet. So those are the main 3. So if you are new here and you fancy going checking out our other platforms, then obviously we've got a Facebook page, which is active all the way through the week. And Instagram is just occasionally I'll put up photos of things that I'm doing. I've got quite a few followers on there. Again, more followers this week, which is really, really nice. But the big one for us, of course, is here on YouTube, is that we want you to make sure that you subscribe to this channel, please. If you haven't done that already, please do. And if you want to make sure that you're never going to miss a show, or you want to be reminded, somewhere down there in the bottom somewhere of the screen is a little bell icon. Click on that and you will always be reminded, and you will never miss a show. And if you do, there's probably no helping you anyway at that point. So yeah, cool. So how have you been, Kyle?
Yeah, I've been pretty good. And again, another hectic week. But I did get my miniature sprayed this time, thanks to a little reminder from Danny.
You're very welcome.
Just beforehand to give me a kick to get it done.
I just knew you wouldn't have had the time. I just knew.
Yeah, busy Friday. Just relaxed. I'm really annoyed that I brought a cup of tea up with me and then I drank it before the show started. But other than that, it's been a good week. That's kind of the highlight.
That's what my 10 minutes till go time are all about, is making a cup of tea, because I know that we have quite a few viewers from the US who don't watch necessarily live. Some do, but we have quite a few viewers in the US who watch it back on replay. Yeah, we're British, and you can't. Rome wasn't made without cups of tea. So yeah, I think I did a cross metaphor there. I don't think.
That's an interesting one. I don't know if there was tea in the Roman
Whatever.
From
Well,
China.
China, come on.
If you know, let us know.
Yeah, sure. So what I'm going to be doing this week, this should hopefully now be the last week of doing my zone thropes. I've been hard at work on them today. For me,
I feel like I've heard things like this.
Yeah, I know, right? For me, it's been a bit of a mental week because I do adult learning during the week, so I'm retaking my maths exam. So I'm doing a lot of learning. I did a test paper a little while ago. I failed it badly. I was really ashamed of it, so I got really angry, and I've just been study. So up until now, it's all been about that. And today I was like, George, I did a little bit last night as well. I've got to get this last zone thrope, all the highlights done. It takes me a long time, but the one thing that I'm really trying to push myself for is just pushing myself for that extra bit of patience. Take your time, see it through, and then hopefully, you know, I'll just develop. That speed should come naturally. I'm looking at all three of the models in a row here in sequential order, and I can see progression, and I'm really chuffed with that, and I haven't really noticed it at the level that I'm seeing it now before, so I'll show that to you in a second. Because I'm going to be backwards and forwards from that particular task, I've also got my Khan effects that I was going to try and do something last week, and I've also been experimenting with that acid pooling, and I was going to try and do all that last week, but if you remember last week, for some reason, I don't know, the spark wasn't there, it wasn't working for me, and I just really struggled to get it done. So I'm still left with the same stuff I had last week, and the week has been study week. So yeah, what are you doing this week, man?
I have got the things that I didn't spray paint before last show, so they are now spray painted. That's a unit of assault intercessors, and I'm just going to start layering up my dry brushing on them today. Because of the speed of the technique, these could very well end up red and pretty close to finished by the end of the show, depending on how distracted I really get. So we'll see.
Yeah. Cool.
I tend to end up getting a bit engaged with the chat, so sometimes I'm not as productive as maybe I should be.
But you enjoy doing what you do, and you enjoy the community as well, and that's what we're really here all about. I'm going to take us over to the workbench. So we can have a little look at what I've got down there. Boop. Here we go. Oh, it looks like nothing. Oh dear. So before I get stuck into the models that I've got, I had another delivery the other day, Kyle.
Of course
Yeah. This is stuff that I've had on order for a little while, but obviously with the COVID situation, it's been a little bit. Yeah, there have been some delays. So what I've got here are two outstanding products from my old delivery, or my old order, sorry, that cost me several £100. Well, just over £100 it was. I've got some splash gel from Green Stuff World, and I've got some UV resin from Green Stuff World. I'm really looking forward to playing around with this stuff, because in my Tyranids army, what I like to do on some of my bases is that, I've said it before, the acid pool base effect. And what I've done in the past is I've painted the effect, and then I've just done multiple layers of gloss over the top, and it works really well. But I'm one of those guys that always wants to just play with different products that are out there. Just want to see what they're all capable of doing. Some are better than others. Some are more cost effective. Others just work better. But it's always nice just to kind of break from the mold a little bit and go and see what else is out there. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to playing around with these. The UV resin's a really interesting substance because it says UV on it. It reacts with a UV torch, or you can leave it in daylight and it will cure. It says in seconds, but if you leave it in direct sunlight, it will take longer. Well, you want to get yourself a little UV torch. You can pick them up on Amazon for just a couple of quid, and you just shine it on there, and that does cure it in seconds. And the splash gel is almost like a PVA glue, but it's a bit more resin based. And the idea is that you would mix this stuff with a tiny piece of cotton wool. You could pull it off the end of a cotton bud, for example, or off a cotton ball. Mix it in with this, and then you apply it to the base, and then you can kind of sculpt waves or splashes, etc. Any kind of water in motion effect. And this also reacts with the torch, so you can use both of these gels in unison, which I'm really excited to have a go with. Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't actually looking at it now. Yeah, looking at it now, I don't know if this one does actually work with the UV thing, but you can obviously mix it with the UV. That's what when I was kind of having a little hunt around for different products, I saw a video of someone using it, so maybe that's what it is. But I'm going to explore all those avenues, and I will do a little video on that later on sometime in the future when time presents itself. So I've got also today my zone tropes. Here is my first one, here is my second one, and here is my third one. The third one is being a bit of a pig because it's a character model. It's a bit more complex. It's got lots of more spiky, sharpy horn bits all over it. So it has been quite a pain. Now, if I hold these into the camera, I'll just enlarge my screen a little bit so I can actually see what I'm doing a bit better. There we go, there we are. So this is the first one I did, and you can see the difference in the marks. I don't really have to explain it. For a start, these ones on the newer one, the most recent one, are just much more defined and brighter colour. So that means that I'm getting my paint mixtures correct. This one just looks a bit scruffy, looks a bit rough all over the place. I was really happy with it when I did it. It was the first one I'd done. But I'm starting to look at it going, oh yeah, there's little errors that I can see on there that you wouldn't necessarily see, that I know that I'm correcting as I go now. So I'm really chuffed for that one. When I got to this one, the colour was a bit brighter. The lines were much tidier, but it was all a bit more uniformed, and I wanted it to look a little bit more, you know, a bit more natural. So when it came to this one, yeah, I made sure that I was following that sentiment really. Last week it just wasn't working for me, and I tried to do at least a head to get that done, but I was struggling, and I realised at one of those points if I pushed it I was just going to end up ruining it, and then I would probably lose the motivation and have to step, so I just stepped away from it. So what I've been doing over the last couple of days is I've done the head. I've done what is quite difficult is then the back of the head, but that's all done as well now. I've done all the spines down this neuro spine here, so it's got lots of like spiky bits and claws and whatever. And then I've started doing the back as well. The only thing that really needs to be done now is this side. I'll point again with my brush. Is this side of the carapace down here, which actually isn't all that difficult. Oh, I'm getting shot down here because this side here is done. And I also need to add in some random lines. I add in, I put lines around the sculpted cracks and splits on the carapace, and then I add in my own. You can see here on the actual head, so you can see like these sculpted cracks and splits, and then I add in my own, just to kind of, you know, my own artistic direction, I suppose. Yeah,
because you want to.
Because I want to, because it looks cool. I like to make, because my contrasts were a little bit off while I'm learning. It looks a little bit comic book, but that's okay. It suits it really. It's very bright colours. It's a very cheerful yellow colour. Yellow is my favourite colour. That wasn't the reason why I chose it. Yeah.
Could be a reason though.
It could be. Yeah.
Absolutely fine.
And then I've got to do the claws. And the claws and the tail bit down there don't really take an awful lot of time to do. So it's really now it's just getting this side of the carapace finished and adding in those little textures. If I get bored of that, I can do a bit of acid pool stuff, and I've also got just here my Carnifex model, which looks really bright under my lights here. That is the same yellow, believe it or not, as this. It's just got a wash over it. Or a shade, as GW like to call it. I've got a couple of choices here today. I've got Agrax Earthshade and I've got Sepia, Seraphim Sepia. I used to use Agrax Earthshade, but because I'm using a bright colour, yellow, I'm applying this as a filter over it. I don't want it to be too dark. Seraphim Sepia. I can't tell the difference if it's on a darker colour, but on the yellow it really does make quite a difference, and this colour is really, really nice for it. So what I'm going to do, because I've been doing that zone throw all day, well, all afternoon, is I'm going to take a break from that now, and I'm going to head straight over and have a go at this, because I want to. I'm going to do that before I hit the carapace. There's a lot of carapace on this Carnifex model. Obviously, he's got the whole back plate up here, which is just... I've put my hand in front of the light, you can see it a bit better. There you go. He's got these huge crab claws. He's got armor all over his legs. He's got spikes everywhere. He's got a carapace on top of the gun. It's quite hard to see there. On top of his head, on his thighs, if I haven't already said that, on the back of his tail, and the tip of his tail. It's everywhere, and there's lots of spikes and things. So there's actually quite a lot of work to do in just painting grey. I was going to do it with the airbrush, but it's too easy to overspray, and on this bright yellow, it shows up quite a bit. So I'm going to do the Seraphim Sepia wash now, so that if I get it on where the carapace is going to go, I can just paint over it. So yeah, that's that really. I'm not going to do a wash on the carapace. I was using Nuln oil, but if you like to go back a couple of episodes, you might remember that I had a real mare of a time trying to work with that stuff. It just wasn't working the way I wanted it to, and it's a little bit unruly, and it just got away from me. So to save from that, what I've got here is another product from Ammo MIG, which is a really good professional company, is a shader, which is specifically for the airbrush. You could probably use it with your brush. I haven't tried it yet, but this stuff is really, really intense color, and you put it through your airbrush with a really low pressure, and the idea is that you just build it up gradually to almost the point where you can't see it to start with, and the more and more you build it up, the more intense it becomes, and you can be really quite precise with it. So I'm going to just try and tone down my contrasts quite a bit, because the Nuln Oil just darkens off my base grey too much, and then I can hopefully should be able to get some really nice recesses with this. So that's going to be exciting, but probably a learning curve at the same time. Yeah, wonderful.
Say something a little bit different again, have a little play. Very
yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
It's interesting as well. I was just going to say about the Nuln Oil, like it seems to be a bit of a general consensus that people struggle with the Nuln Oil. And
really?
Yeah, a lot of people seem to move away from Nuln Oil very quickly for other products from other
That's
companies.
interesting. I've not heard anybody ever really struggling with it. A lot of people say they really like it, but that's just the channels that I'm on, obviously.
Yeah, a few tutorials I've watched recently, a few little videos, people have just said they struggle.
What are they struggling with specifically? Can you remember?
They don't like the way it moves around.
Look at that, the same problem.
They don't like how it moves, and so where they struggle with the movement of it, they then struggle to get the effect that they want, sort of that finishing effect on what they're looking
So
for.
the same problem then.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Stuff. There you go, look.
however, there's a place for everything. We say that every week, don't we?
Gosh,
There's a place for everything, and if you're doing grim dark stuff, then it doesn't really matter. You just want to kind of slap that stuff on and get that sludge wash on, don't you? Really?
Yeah, exactly. And like we say, you very well may find a great use for it for something else, or everything has its place.
Absolutely. Adrian Dean in the comments, if we haven't said it already, is saying, "Evening all, evening Adrian. Nice to see you again. Another regular face. Thanks for coming along. I hope you're well."
What is everybody painting this evening?
18 minutes in. There he is. Yeah.
I think it was like the 40-minute mark on the last episode.
Yeah,
so I better get it in a bit quicker.
Yeah. Let us know.
What have we got going on? What projects are in the pipeline at the moment? What are you looking forward to getting onto? Are you currently slogging your way through a unit that you know you have to get done, but there's a light at the end of the tunnel because you've got something special? You've maybe got a project coming up that you're looking forward to. I'm looking forward to getting onto my Sanguinary Guard. I'm not touching them until this unit is painted. That's kind of my new rule.
Don't start something, otherwise you end up like me. And you've got several projects on the go. Right, so one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight, Kyle, is the right tool for the right job. I'm using here, just because I haven't used it for a wash before, my new very expensive Raphael Kalinsky brush. I'm using it to apply a wash. It holds a lot of paint in it, which means that it's quite easy for me to control, because if I just touch lightly, it doesn't just pool off instantly. It's actually quite difficult to show on the camera where I'm looking at the moment, because it's just so bright. I'll move my lights away a bit and see what happens. Here we go. But if I push a little bit harder on the side, the capillary action in the brush head means that more comes out. So I've got quite a bit of control over this wash. But is my expensive sable brush what I want to be using for this quite a crude technique? No, it's not crude, but do you know what I mean? Can be quite brutal.
Is there? Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is there any detriment to the brush by doing what you're doing? Is it going to affect the brush?
It's not the chemical. No, it's not the paint, is it? Really, it's more the technique. Yeah. And with a wash or a shade, it's the onus is that you can be quite brutal in your application. So I'm finding now, and I'm only a couple of brush strokes in, that I'm being quite delicate specifically for my brush. And I learned when I was painting my Biovore that I don't want to do a sludge wash with this with this color scheme. So that might work for me. That might pay into it. But it's one of those things I was thinking about throughout the week, that I was using different things for all sorts of, and I was finding some gain really. I've got here like a little sculpting brush, It's basically a silicon rubber, looks like a little chisel on the end. And I've got 3 different sizes. This is my smallest one. And I realised that if I did a little mistake, that I can actually just make sure at the end of that is wet, and I can go straight in and I can rub it out. And it's quite precise.
Brilliant.
Being acrylics, one of the key features about acrylic paints is that they dry really quickly. So you've got to get in there quick. And you can use acrylic thinners, but then you're going to start affecting the area underneath. So that was quite a cool little thing. I often wipe things away with my finger sometimes when but with a lot of the Tyranid stuff, you can't get your finger in there. And I just wondered, really, what other people do. Do other people have specific tools for the right job? I mean, I've got some brushes here that I will never throw away, but they are awful. Awful condition. Here's one of my synthetic brushes. I use this one a lot for loading my palette. So I will take paint from the pot and then mix and blend whatever. It doesn't really matter. It's still got bristles. It still could do some work if I wanted to do something that I wasn't really all that fussed about the quality of. Yeah, I just wondered what other people... Is there the right tool for the job? Do you have a favourite tool that does a very specific thing for you? Because there's no right or wrong way of painting or hobbying or anything. It's all about how you achieve your results. I've never really seen anybody achieve such wonderful dry brush technique as you, Kyle, and this is a new thing for you, but it just works so well. Do you have a proper brush for that? Do you have like one that you resigned just for that?
Yes,
effect?
I picked it back up today, my old trusty, and it is just quite simply a Citadel medium dry brush.
Nice.
Nice, but it is getting a bit battered, but it's always going to happen to a dry brush. I've got a couple of the brushes from Jeff as well. I've started to use that are a bit smaller for when I sort of change colour on some of my dry brushing so I can be a little bit more targeted with it. I know it's quite a general technique, but I found that I can be fairly targeted with it as long as I've got a slightly smaller brush, and they've been phenomenal for... I'd left helmets on some guys, so having to dry brush them to not get blue everywhere was handy, and then sort of crests and weapons and things like that. So the workhorse is the simple Citadel brush, and then a couple of smaller ones. I do have an Artificer's brush, I think it's called, from Citadel as well. For my I use that for my lenses. And any really fine detail work. Yeah,
that's the old, what I used to call my old detail brush. I've got that one here somewhere. Where is it? It is, the Artificer layer or Artificer layer. It's actually just a layer brush. It's not really for doing detail, but it is the smallest nib one they do. And I was struggling with it myself, which is why I decided to start then exploring into techniques, etc. for details. That's when I started, researching different brushes. And that's why I end up with this Kolinsky brush. I can see some more comments going in. Adrian Dean has said that I find it depends on all how you use it. If you're trying a pin wash, then it's quite hard to use, but sludge wash works well, especially over silver. Oh, right. Okay, cool. He's working on the backpacks for squads 4 and 5 of my Angels of Blood. Also found some half-finished Death Watch, so also working on them. Ideal. Do please load up photos of all of your stuff. There's no reason why it has to be like tomorrow or later. You can do it now if you want. Let us know. You can go over to our Facebook page. You can go to the community tab, and you can post everything you want up there. It's always nice to see what you're doing.
Oh yes, and I made sure I had a good look again through the Facebook for this week, and I keep it open during the show as well. So if there's anything you want to,
nice. I can't have it open. Well, I can have it open in the background, but I'm only running this broadcast off of a laptop, which is quite a distance away from me. So I couldn't actually get a good look.
But I'll highlight anything that comes up, and
that'd be nice.
Oh, and we've got Mellowbrook saying he's edging ever closer to finishing the heavy weapons set for Vipers. There's no need. There's no need. They're redundant. Don't even bother taking them. Just chuck them away now. Don't worry.
Dirty heavy weapons.
Well, I think we must be edging closer to the Eldar Codex coming out. We must be.
Yeah. There's a lot of people hyping about it in some forums that I've seen. Just wondering, what's coming out. I've also seen some teaser images for potential new Guard release, but that's controversial as all teasers are, I suppose.
Yeah.
We'll see where it goes.
I mean, when we say controversial, we mean in the scale of plastic toy soldiers.
Yeah, of course.
You know, there's a I can't even think of the word. My mind's gone blank. A second ago, I went to dry brush and one of my models just fell to pieces. So I'm just going to have a quick fix of that.
Nice.
Maybe a little bit rushed putting that one together.
Well,
Kana fixes. Are they still legal? Can you take them? Are they a thing?
Oh yeah, in fact they're the only thing you're allowed to take now, and they're a third of the cost. So yeah.
Oh, solid. That's what they needed to be cheaper. Good.
Yeah.
Solid.
They've actually been the focus of a lot of nerfing lately over the years. Nerfing, for those people that don't know, is just a term that gamers now use for units or items in a game just basically being softened and being less effective than they have previously. They used to be the sort of dreadnought equivalent, and you could put one toe to toe with a dreadnought and it would have a happy slap fight for quite some time. It was what you would take to counter dreadnoughts, and you would take dreadnoughts to counter them. And like any unit, you can suit them up in different ways and layouts and setups and things. I've got my preferred ways. You can have them close combat, you can have them, troops, you can have them for range, you can have them for taking out armor, whatever you want. The idea is that they'll go in and they will ruin whatever they get up close to or to do the job against. But over the years, they've made it just a little bit softer than that. And unfortunately, there's a lot of other units that have gone up or stayed where they were. So if you're used to using them in some of the older ways, they may not necessarily be that appropriate. That's not to say, of course, they don't have their place. And they're one of my faves, so they'll always have a place on my table, always.
I know they've kind of got the nickname of the distract effects, haven't they? Because they're intimidating, I think, especially for people that have played the game for quite some time. And you remember the terror of Kana fixes going down on the table is that they're phenomenal for making people shoot at them. And, Tyranid players then laugh in glee as their hordes of Gribblies go untouched.
You can set them up to be quite a nasty little unit if you want to sit on an objective. Try and take it.
Yeah.
You've got to put a lot of focus into removing that kind of effects, and that focus is going to be diminished elsewhere. So you're going to have to call something away from doing another job to come and deal with it. And yeah, that's really where that term comes from, is distract effects. They are when they first came in second edition, they were very different looking back then. Screamer killers was what they were called. You can still set those up, and they just basically got lots and lots of huge massive claws, and the idea is that they just go in and tear up troops of any description. Those are really cheap, they're quite easy to take out, they're quite specialized in the fact that they are close combat. The kind of fixes are quite slow, so they can be taken out by anti-armor. Because they're quite soft, in terms of armor, a decent anti-tank weapon will ruin its day. So yeah, it's about making sure that you synergize and taking other units in with it. What is really taking the place of the Kana effects in the Tyranids list now is the Trigon. Which
I've come up across one actually.
They're one of the newer units. They've been in the codex for quite some time, but they're one of the more newer units. They are basically the subterranean worms. They kind of come out from the ground, go straight up underneath you. And you can get different types. You get Trigon Prime, so you can have a decent synapse thing that is really tough to kill, and can be anywhere and can allow other creatures to use the tunnel networks that it burrows with. And then you can have the Morlock, which is like a giant scooped mouth thing that kind of comes up underneath people and eats whole units. They're really fun. I would like to have one, a Trigon or a Morlock, but we said it before, finish off what you got first. Yeah, get through your grey plastic backlog. Go on.
Forgotten. So I pulled out actually everything I have for my Blood Angels, because I haven't actually looked at the whole lot in quite some time. Number one, I had more than I thought, which is kind of always nice, I suppose, in a way. Yeah. But some of the models that I forgot I had, I've got a Vindicator sat there that needs painting. which will be really fun because I've never painted a vehicle. So it'd be interesting to try. I think
is that the same Vindicator that I fought you in our first ever game?
No, it's a different one.
Oh, is it? Because I remember that one.
No,
I remember that one
one.
being. Wasn't that one painted?
No.
Was it not?
Grey still. No, it's not even been sprayed.
Oh, it just shows you how memories get affected over the years, right?
Yeah, I got a couple rhinos that I've sort of based, at least, past just spraying them. But yeah, other than that, no, the Vindicator's not even had a lick of spray paint.
Oh, maybe we'll do a feature on 40k tanks because we like to do our tags, so perhaps we'll do some 40k stuff as well. Yeah,
That'd be cool.
I've got a load of tanks that all need doing. We've got more comments going in from Luke.
Yeah.
As the norm, Sisters of Battle, but next week, if the models come, making a small 40k scene. Oh,
What scene? What are you waiting for?
You're doing a diorama. That's fun. Cool, something different. Adrian's just posted an example Deathwatch shoulder pad to Facebook. Shows what I wash, meaning about none all over silver. Yeah, I know the effect that you're talking about. That's how I used to use it. I used to use it for a kind of tarnish effect over gunmetal greys and things. And just over the years, I've realised that the more I tried to get out of none, the less I was getting. The more disappointed I was with it. But that's not to say that all Games Workshop shades are rubbish. It's a personal thing. Like I'm using Seraphim Sepia right now. I love it.
So I've had some really good results from a lot of from pretty much all their shades. I use I forget the name, the
Carabao Crimson. Yeah, I use that one as well. That's a really nice one. I struggle a bit with the violet one, which is Drutchy Violet. I used to use that when I was experimenting with different colour schemes. Yeah, I struggled with that one quite a bit. It's similar sort of properties to Nuln, I found. I also find purple quite a troublesome colour to paint with. I can never get the effect that I could. You know when you start doing a paint job and you've got an image in your head and you go, it's gonna look like this. With purple, it never does for me. So yeah. This colour is just wonderful, and I'm really liking it. I'm very nervous about my brush, so even though I'm just persisting, just because I think it needs to be given that chance. When I finished doing this kind of effects with it, I don't think I will use this one for shades in the future, just because.
Yeah.
Just because. But sometimes, you've got to take a bold leap. You've got to have a go, right?
Did we say, sorry, Luke, what scene are you making?
Yeah, would love to know.
Comments. Yeah. What models you waiting for? What's happening? I always feel bad with dry brushing. That I just feel like I'm wasting so much paint.
Yeah.
Sort of taking paint back off the brush. Like I try and use as little as possible and things. I definitely have gotten better with it, but it just feels weird to be the first step of dry brushing is take paint off the brush.
It's part of that artistic process. Though, yeah, it really is. It's your dry brush fine, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I was talking about the recent swathe of subscribers that we've had this week at the beginning of the show, Carl. We've had a really good week with subscribers and just people coming along to see what we're all about. Of course, last week we had Kieran, who hasn't shown his face in the comment section today. Maybe he is watching. If you are, nice to see you. Maybe you'll watch it back on replay later on. Hope you're well. So I was talking to him during the week. He said he's going to get some of his friends because obviously if you are a gaming nerd, then you probably know other gaming nerds. So he's got some friends. He was going to share our name and try to get people to come along, which will be brilliant because it's all very well asking people to subscribe, but that subscribe stops with that one person. So if you know people who are interested in it or might be interested in it, please do share our name and get people to come along and get them to subscribe as well.
It's one of those things. This community will only sort of get stronger with it growing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here is only going to benefit sort of everyone. Really, is the kind of idea of it. I mean, look what we already get from the interactions we have, and it'd be fantastic to be able to kind of spread that love, as it were.
Absolutely.
Out to more people.
Yeah, I look back to this sort of time last year. just before obviously the world fell apart, and we were talking about this as an idea, the show, you know, and trying to get it together. And I shared the idea with you, and you were like, yes, I want in on this. It will be so good. But I never thought of what it would be like. I didn't expect to, you know, you know, how many people are going to come along, if it's going to be successful. We don't have 1 million subscribers for sure. We have 30. That's very humble, but that's 30 more than I thought we'd ever get. So it's been really good. And like you say, it can only ever get stronger.
Yeah, and like we said, if this brightens one person's day,
yeah,
you've done something well.
And that was the comment that you said to me. That was like, yeah, okay, do you know what? I'm gonna go for it. And then I met Ruben Garaby. I've mentioned his name a couple of times before on the show, through Hostile Galaxy. Go and have a look at our affiliates tab, or our networking tab on Facebook, and you'll see Hostile Galaxy's our online hobby magazine in the US. And he said exactly the same thing to me, and he was like, if you benefit just one person, then surely you're doing the right thing. You've succeeded, right? I'm like, do you know what? I've heard that twice now. Let's push the go button. Let's make this work.
And I think it's even more important with everything that we're going through, to have that contact with someone, even if it's via YouTube live chat.
I know for a fact there's a couple of our viewers, a couple of our more quiet viewers, that are alone in all of this. As alone as the modern world allows you to be, because you can always be online with people, but human contact, you need to have it. And I know that this show does provide that for some of our viewers out there, and that's really, really nice. And I've been talking to some new people this week, in private chats or whatever, between this show and last, and people that are really excited. Got some new like car modelers, just kind of interesting, just kind of coming along. If you're watching right now, I hope you're having a good time. I hope you're doing well. It'd be nice to hear from you. Perhaps, absolutely. And perhaps you're not watching right now and you're watching it back on replay later on. Nice to see you. Do come along and make it a regular thing. It'd be great. It'd be nice to actually hear from other people who aren't war gamers. Maybe you're just like into model trains and stuff, because there's a place for that as well. I've never necessarily been interested in doing it myself, but I'm always very interested. I cannot help but stop and look at model trains and all the dioramas and things that people make. I think it's fascinating. So yeah, maybe that's what you do. Come along.
I just got to say as well there, Luke's above, it's going to be a Blood Angels chaplain, the jump pack chaplain, seconds away from smashing a Hormagorn on an icy.
Hey! Discrimination! Come on! What's that Hormagorn ever done to you?
What's more embarrassing is that I don't have a Blood Angels chaplain with a jump pack, and it's my army, and it's definitely in my list, but I will get around to it. So yeah, no, it will look great. I think that white background, it's a phenomenal backdrop to have for making your models stand out. If you're clever with your sort of colour palette there, can really make that. I don't want to use the word pop. It seems a bit weird, but yeah, it helps that contrast really well.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say.
Really interesting. Yeah, it's quite a nice backdrop to go for.
You can use colours to accentuate other colours nearby.
It's one of the colours they use in a lot of sort of black, grey and white, and used in a lot of things, in events, in fashion and things like that, because they allow other colours to then stand out. They're a good sort of background. That's
an interesting little theory. So used in the fashion world as well.
Yeah, so you'll have that a lot for like sort of decorations around fashion, so it doesn't detract from the main thing, but it helps to accent or highlight whatever colours you then do go for. Like and they go with everything as well. You don't have to worry about that clashing. And
these colours are
black, white, and grey.
But they're not actually colours, truthfully, are they? They're just tones. They're well. If you go back to the episode where we were talking about, if you go back to the episode where we were talking about the colour wheel, they're actually just saturation. They're levels of light, but in a non-lit world, because we're not working with colours coming through in the light world. We're working with colours on a palette. They are your saturation. If you add black to a colour, you're going to darken. If you add white to a colour, you're going to lighten it. That's really cool. I love colour theory. Like when I was doing the research for that episode and we were talking about the colour wheel and all the stuff that went with it, I just got lost. I was like Alice down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I didn't realise how much I was actually going to enjoy learning about it as well.
Yeah, no, me neither.
And again, by learning about it, I'm no expert. I haven't suddenly done lots, but I was a lot more intrigued by it than I thought I was gonna be. Yeah, completely.
And how many conversations have we had in live chat since talking
Yeah.
about the different?
Crops up and crops up.
Yeah, it's so really
useful.
good.
It's just a useful thing. And with that, Luke, what have you got a colour scheme in mind for the Formagorn? Because I think that's, especially with a diorama, it's all about the impact.
I think grey and yellow have really been done now, so I think you can stay away from those colours.
No, I'd love to see a Blood Angels chapter smashing a grey and yellow. Formagorn, that would be fantastic. And is this just off the cuff? It's just something that you wanted to do as a diorama, or are you looking to go in, sort of branch into these forces? Is it just a modelling project as well? Because I've got something sort of in the line for that with the guard I've got. I just want it as a modelling project at this point, because I just simply can't afford to invest in the guard army with how many models they end up being.
Yeah, you can only have one horde army, right?
Yeah. So I want to I'll commit to the Blood Angels for now. Do a few bits, hopefully sort of projecty with my Imperial Guard Astra Militarum, which depending if you're old school, new school, just for the fun and for using some different paint techniques, because I won't be dry brushing them. I'll pick up that more edge highlight in washing.
Are you going to experiment with like different styles as you progress through your Blood Angels army, or is it you going to basically pick this one technique and stay with it, or are you going to try and introduce like more detailed techniques and things into it as you go?
Yeah, I am, because I'm quite lucky that in the Blood Angels army there's a couple of different sort of colour palettes you use. So the Sanguinary Guard being gold gives me that option to try a really different...
Oh yeah, and we spoke about the gold colours in depth, haven't we? Yeah.
And that allowed me to try something different without ruining the scheme of the whole army, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I hate to move away halfway through the army to a different style, and it makes them look very different. So my red armour is going to be dry brushed, and that technique I've been using. But with the gold, I've got that chance to try something different, and I'm going to branch into the oils with that. And I really like that technique, and it still gives that grimdark feel.
Sure.
Which is the buzzword for this style, for this army. And then again with my Death Company being black, it's a good chance to try my edge highlighting as well. So I think I'm going to get that chance. With my characters that are going to be red, I'm probably going to sort of dry brush to get that rough technique, that rough colour in place, that sort of for my bigger panels, but then I want to go into a bit more detail, weapons and crests and maybe some edge highlighting over the top of it, just to really give them that detail.
Sounds really interesting. I look forward to seeing it all. And with the dry brushing, you had nothing but success with it, really. So it's not going to be long, really, now before you moving on to that. It's not like you got to wait 6 months while you work through the other units and things that you've got in there. Excellent.
Shouldn't be long at all. So no, really looking forward to it. It's one of those things, when I do get a bit more time, I think I can progress quite quickly through what I've got. It's just at the moment, I do just have these 2 hours on a Friday. So, and as you've seen it some weeks, even though it's a painting channel, I actually come along just to be around everyone and have that talk about the hobby, because that's just what I need at that point on a Friday evening. So.
Well, your schedule is backed right up because you're a teacher, and at the moment, the way that the world is, you guys are really under a lot of pressure. So don't worry. I'm sure there's other people out there as well go like, I don't have the time.
Yeah,
it's fine. You'll get your time.
Yeah, and those of you that do know me as well know that not only am I busy, but I'm also terribly unorganised. So
yeah, we know.
Even carving out, I probably could carve out some more time in the week somewhere if I pulled my life together, but we'll see.
Right. Well, I've finished now that card effects. I haven't finished the card effects. That'd be brilliant. I finished doing the wash over him, and it's really dulled that colour, that bright yellow down, which is really what it needed. And I'm just kind of looking at it now, going, I've seen a couple of spots, like a couple of tide marks on the tail. So I thought I'd have a quick look on it now to see if there are any other marks that might look a little bit ugly when it dries. And it's looking all right generally. There's a lot of detail, just like in the sort of terrain, if you like, the texture of the creature all over. I'll take you back to the workbench to show. You can see here on the tail, because it's just so smooth, there's just a couple of areas where it seems to have left a couple of marks, and I think especially on the top there might be quite noticeable. So I'm just going to see if I can play around with that. I was just using my really nice brush, but I might not do that now. What's something super soft? What have I got here? I've got my regiment brush from Army Warpainter, the triangular brush.
You use that much? I know, because we've talked about that kind of being a workhorse for a lot of.
I've been using it as I've been playing with the zone thropes, but that's been a lot of like detail work. But because this goes down to a really fine point, I thought I'll give it a try. But it's really soft. It's so soft. It's more soft than any other sable brush I've got. It just bends. And as soon as it bends, it splays, and it's not really that good for that. So this is the first time I would have used it for anything else really.
Just whilst you're doing that, Lucia said it's just a break, which is always nice, and I like the fact that I've never really thought about doing it until recently, of just taking a break from your army, just to have a bit of fun with the hobby, like do something a bit different. There are so many models out there from armies that I'd never collect, but I think are fantastic models. Why not go and get it? Why not grab that model just for the fun of painting it? There are some, especially the new things that are coming out. Some of the sculpts that are coming out are absolutely fantastic. So yeah, it's nice to just enjoy something a bit different. You can mix it up, different technique, just changing your color palette as well.
There is a gentleman in the States called Derek Osborne. He is a gentleman who is very much into all of the war games and models, and he's a pretty good painter as well. And he seems to be very well connected. He knows people who knows people, and he's helped my dad, Jeff Lacey, who's in the live comments, with his business Purple Line Creations. And he had his own channel called Throne of Angels, which they just kind of reviewed everything and talked about different games and different terrain and different models. And they seem to have gone quiet from what I've seen on the Throne of Angels front, but they have. He seems to, with some other people on board, seems to have made their own game called Mercs. I don't know anything about it. That's all I know. It pops up a lot with the research and the planning for the show and running my own life. I've never really aspired to go search much more about it, but because we're talking about being other games and things out there now, what I'll do is this week, as I'll do some more research. I'll see if I can get in contact with Derek, because I have spoken to him before, and see maybe if he wants to come along to the show or whatever, or just can give us some information about it, whatever, because it might be interesting to see if they make their own models, which I'm sure they do, so that we can maybe get some, have a look at them, review them, paint them up, do it as something as a break. And it'd be nice as well to do something that isn't 40k. I love 40k. It is almost my life. I don't know why. It's just that boyish thing that I've always had. I love it, but it's always nice to do something different. It's not the only thing. And we spoke about Infinity lots now. It's a great game. Why not try it? You know
it's not the I've fallen into the trap before as well. You do just sort of sink into this game and forget there's so much more out there.
Yeah, there really is. Much more. Right, we've got a few minutes before we have a break. So what I'm going to do, we're a few minutes away from it yet, but so rather than get stuck into doing some detailing stuff right now, I thought I'd just have a little go at the acid pool basing effect. I've been doing 2 bases this week. But actually I'm probably going to just do 1 for now, because this one here I just started doing it just because I was kind of getting a bit bored, but I haven't actually plotted out where it's going to go. I was just putting paint on plastic because I had itchy paint fingers. But this one here, you can see that I've got a bit of terrain already put down. I've got some sort of hard ground and some cracked earth. I'm probably going to paint that light brown colour. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it yet, which is why I've left it up until now. But what I've been doing here is I've been putting this, it's basically Dark Angels Green. It comes from the Vallejo range, which is just simply titled Dark Green. Yeah, I know, right? They do have other better ones, like this one here, Escorpina Green. Yeah, I've got light livery green, whatever you want to call it. So they do have some very exotic names in there, as my tongue twister can show. Basically, I put this over a black undercoat. I'm actually toying with the idea of putting it over grey to just kind of brighten it up a little bit. And then I just work my way up through a couple of other tones of green. So here's the dark green. And then I just work my way up through a little bit of sick green. And then, let's see if I can say it in one go. Sick green. Green. Sick green.
It is. Okay, I thought you said that. Yeah, just checking.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Then I've got Escorpina green. I said it the first time. There you go. Nice. And then I've got like livery green or livery green. This is almost a yellow. This is like the turning point between green and yellow. This is one where if it was on its own, people would call it yellow, and you go like, no, it's green. And I've also been, this week, I haven't done it before, but I've been blending them across. So I've actually done like half steps. So with a sick green, what you can see here on this base is a mixture, it's a 50-50 mix of dark green and sick green. And then basically what I do is the closer to the shore that I get, the brighter I make it, because I like it to like be the kind of the green light is able to penetrate the acid kind of color, if you like, and you can see the surface underneath, and it just makes a really nice effect. If you go on to Facebook, and if you go on to, I think it's on Instagram, you'll see a picture of my Broodlord where I really first tried it, and it looks really good, and I think I can improve it, and eventually I will build up to using these gels and resins and things as well. So what I'm going to do here is, I'm sorry, Carl, I just cut you off there.
No, carry on.
Okay, I'm just going to basically apply a bit of sick green with a little bit of medium, Lamy medium, which is basically colourless paint, just to kind of water it down. But I don't want it to be watered down with water, because that will break the surface tension a little bit, and it will leave tide marks, and I don't want it to do that. I don't want to have like this border and then no colour. So this is absolutely crucial for that effect. So yeah, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get a little dollop of medium. You don't have to use the Citadel medium. It's the only one I've ever used. It's the first one I've ever used, so I haven't really experimented with anything else. But it's really good. You can make some really nice glazes with it. So if you want to like experiment with your own colours, you can.
I just had a horrible moment where I've just found that I missed a what do you call it? The line that you normally scrape off, mould line.
Oh no, I hate that.
Especially with dry brushing. Oh, the only one look in the squad. I missed him. Missed him on the back of the leg. Oh.
Can you go back in and do it?
Yeah, I'll sort that out. I can fix that.
Oh, it's such a shame that happened off camera. So basically here, I had a little puddle of this clear liquid, which is the medium, and then I put a dollop of paint, and it seeped into one, and it just kind of bled like an ink into it, and it was just a perfect demonstration of what the medium does. Such a shame. Never mind.
I also want to say you've claimed another victim of Adrian's gone out and got a 135th Tiger after listening.
Oh, you have you? Yeah. Wonderful. Please
entirely.
Do. I want to see every step of that. Put it on Facebook. Come along as a guest on show one day. Mine. I haven't done anything to mine this week for all the reasons I mentioned earlier, but it is in the painting stage now. What I will say about it: take your time. Like, do not be tempted to rush it. I've had mine since October. It took me a couple of weeks to get it out of the box, but I took my time with it. I sanded all the mould lines down. I filled all the gaps. Yeah.
So it's just in my head there where you said it took you a couple of weeks to get it out of the box. Like, I just had it in my head, you very slowly removing it with a pair of sort of like surgical forceps, making sure it doesn't touch the sides or anything. But yeah, look at that. It's nice of people branching out. I'm waiting. I've ordered the green I need. It is on order.
Oh, for your little little tank.
Yeah. So I think since I've got the paint, there's no point ordering paint for just one little tank, is there? I may as well get myself some more. So again,
you're gonna get yourself some little ones.
Yeah, exactly that. And I build a little force up ready for when we can get together and play.
Yeah. Don't start getting my hopes up. So a little bit now before we go for a break is I've got on the end of my Army Painter Regiment brush, my nice little sable brush, is I've just got that sick green with, it's a 50-50 mix, maybe a little bit more than 50-50 in terms of medium, and I'm just basically going to apply this on this base just up against the shoreline, and I'm just going to kind of just control where I want it to go. I'm being quite crude with it at the moment, and as I've kind of played around with this technique, or this design, if you like, is I've just kind of applied it in different ways just to experiment, not because I know what I'm doing, but just because I don't know what I'm doing, and I want to like experiment and find out what is the most effective way. So I've actually experimented by putting medium straight onto the base and then putting paint into it. That works really well. This is the first time that I've actually mixed the color on the palette before and then kind of plopped it on. And what I'm thinking about is adding some just medium in a second and then kind of blending it away towards the edge of the base, because I want the color to be quite strong up to about where I've painted it here. I know, Kyle, you're on a bit of a delay, so you can't really see it as I'm doing it. Yeah, but you'll see it in a second.
What's interesting that you say, obviously, you don't know anything about this, so you're going to experiment, but that's how you get good at it. That's how you find out how to use it, and those interesting little techniques to get different effects is just have an experiment.
Yeah. Well, I have learned, and this is something that I heard, because sometimes I just have like little tutorial videos playing in the background on YouTube. And there was a gentleman, I mentioned him last week, that he did the molten fire effect on a sword.
Yes.
And just as I was kind of listening to me, he said something that stuck with me, and that is, as you move the brush away, as the bristles leave the model, that is where it's going to leave like a little bubble of colour. That's where the colour's going to be the most intense. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of touching my brush down, just lifting it straight off, like making little dots. And I'm trying to blend those dots together, and it leaves quite a concentrated colour area. But it still does look like the brush did a dot there. So if you just play around it a little bit, you can actually have some quite interesting effects, and you can go like, oh, that's actually the effect that I want. Sweet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to wash the brush off, and then I'm going to just go straight in for some more medium, and I'm just going to basically put it straight onto that colour, and then I'm just going to feather it out from side to side. Oh, Adrian's put another comment in. Even bought a brand new modelling toolkit for the Tiger 2. Nice! Oh yeah, I really want to see it all. I have been toying with the idea of getting a 1/35 Sherman Easy 8, because obviously it's the namesake of the show. And I thought it'd be quite nice to have a little feature on that one, but I'll finish the other one first. Okay, so I've got medium straight from the pot. Here we go. I'm just going to see what happens. Could ruin it all. Got a little bit of tiding effect down at the bottom there, where it started to dry from the previous bit. So if I thought about it, I could have had the medium ready, but not to worry, because there's going to be more colours that go on this. It actually looks quite cool.
Be interested to see how this dries.
Yeah, in my experience, as it dries, the contrast kind of pops off a little bit, or the saturation pops off a little bit, so it always ends up a bit darker. This is.
Did you
Go on.
You were thinking about that with the fluorescent paints, weren't you? As to using your acid pooling.
Yes, but I can't find green anywhere. Yeah, I can't find green anywhere at the moment. Yeah, it's a bit brighter on the edges to what I'm used to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go straight in for some water on my brush. Not want too much on there. Find a happy medium. Way medium. And now I'm just going to try and remove a little bit of it.
Oh, that's a great tip by Jeff there. Field to Glory do 15mm Vesda tanks for $3.75 each.
Oh, beautiful.
I almost wish I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because at that price, I can convince myself that I can afford lots of them.
I need these.
I need them. I need an entire squadron.
Because what I've done here is, as that bubble, if you like, of paint has dried, it has left a tide mark. That's not because I had water in there, that's just because it was the first part of the medium to dry, so it's left like a kind of a line. So what I'm going to do in a minute is I'm just going to go back over it and just try and reinforce the saturation of colour in that hole. But it's not bad. It looks natural, but it's not the thing that I wanted. So yeah,
be interesting. This is where I'm really interested in watching the painting that goes on, is when mistakes happen.
Yeah.
Because my repertoire is not very strong, so when mistakes happen, I just try not to cry, which is probably not the response you need to do to recover your model. So always interesting.
I'm just going to give this a go, and I'm going to use my little sculpting tool that I was talking about earlier on and see what happens. See if I can remove that line.
Nice.
I can. Yep. That is literally it's actually lifting the colour into the surrounding medium, water or medium or whatever it is, and it's actually reactivating it. So now I can move it around with my brush.
There you go, look. Every day's a learning day.
And that's the right tool for the right job. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Brilliant. Okay, well, that was fun. I liked that. That was good. Cool. So yeah, at this point in the show, like always, we'll take a 10-minute break. So if you need to, now's a great opportunity to go and get yourself a cup of tea or stretch your legs or whatever. Change your paint water, and you most definitely should. Please change your paint water. And we'll see you back here in about 10 minutes. Stay safe. See you in a bit.
Brew time.
Hooray. We're back. Yeah. Well, actually, didn't go anywhere. So yeah, cool. I hope you got everything done during the break that you needed to do. I'm watching paint dry. It's actually quite exciting. Kyle has returned. This time
Yes.
he came back with his glasses. Go get your glasses, Kyle. Go spray your models, Kyle. Where would you be without me, man, eh? So yeah, I'm looking at the card effects that I did. And it's obviously I'm not going to be able to get to it today because the nature of a wash means it sits in those recesses and it just takes ages to dry. And you get one tiny little bit of wash on your dry brush, just ruins everything, doesn't it? But it's looking really good. I love the wash stage because it just shows you all the detail that you can't necessarily identify so easily with just a standard layer. It's looking really cool, and it's toned that yellow down because as much as I love yellow, it's a bit in your face. But yes, I'll show you on the workbench in a second. It's looking really cool. Let's go to your webcam specifically. Let's leave me alone, Kyle. Bye. I was wondering if we can see what you've got. What have you? How far have you got there? What have you done?
Let me know how you're seeing it. Obviously, I'm a bit delayed.
Bit closer.
Closer.
Oh yeah, there we go. Lovely.
Yeah, so two dry brush layers. Oh, so shocked! I've just seen me 20 seconds later there. So shocked that you've gone to my camera there. Yeah, so two layers, one grey, one white. So grey kind of all over, white a little bit more.
Oh, that's really effective.
Yeah, it's a little bit more controlled, just to build up the light. And now I'm going to go red dry brush over the top. And
Yeah.
obviously it picks out that sort of
Oh, so that's
cleaned
how
up.
that's how you do your red color. So you do it over. So you're actually doing like a zenithal undercoating essentially, and then you're applying
Yeah.
a dry brush all over.
Yeah, exactly that.
That actually still looks though quite effective,
Yeah, that's really nice.
just for your death company.
Yeah, I'm thinking about using that potentially just for my death company.
Yeah,
I'm
so
really
don't-
torn.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to. I'm back. You don't necessarily have to change your technique or your
No.
approach. It's just take one color
Looks-
away.
Yeah, it looks really smart. Oh, it's two because I do red. It'll go red dry brush, and then I'll do another orange dry brush. Again, as a more controlled dry brush over that red. Again, just to pick out.
Nice. Oh, that's
Yeah.
really cool. It looks really effective, just like that.
Thank
When I saw it, I was like, "Is that Death Company? You're not doing those yet."
No, but they do, don't they? They look. There's enough like noise on there
Yeah.
that I was worried about with the Death Company looking a bit bland, just as black. So yeah, just that grey and that white.
So when you're applying your dry brush, do you actually actively think about the direction of where you want it to come in? So you're actually approaching it for that zenith. That's actually quite an advanced technique you're doing there, Kyle. And you thought that it was just going to be dry brushing.
Yeah, it was one little tip from who is, oh my god, my brain's not working today, the Games Workshop tutorial.
Oh, from Duncan Rhodes.
Yes, that's the one.
He said, did you see him on Games Workshop, or did you see him as a part of his painting academy? Because he's gone solo now.
Oh, was he good? This was I think this was quite a while ago. I watched
Okay.
it. I think it's part of Games Workshop, and it was just a tip for dry brushing, and especially those big panels on a Space Marine, is to go in circles, dry brush in a circle.
Right.
With that
Look at
curve.
that. I'm learning
Stops
something
that.
now, because obviously I've got this Carnifex to do, and I'm just going to do just to bring out those details a little bit more. I've noticed on some of my older models that the yellow's a little bit doesn't speak through enough. I want it to be more yellow than it is browny yellow. So I'm just going to give it a quick highlight by dry brushing. But obviously when I get to that tail that I was looking at just a minute ago, it's quite bland. It's just very smooth, and I might have to consider how I approach that in terms of technique. Interesting. Brilliant. We've got Darren's joined us in the comments.
Yay.
Hi guys,
Hi,
mate this week.
Darren.
Hi Darren, nice to see you again. Thanks for coming along, mate. Hope you're well. Cool.
Are you up to anything today, Darren? Are you
Yeah.
painting? Are you
Would
here,
love-
here for a watch?
Would love to know what you're up to.
tune in?
Yeah. Wonderful. This part of the show we often leave it over. I say we often do. We haven't done it for a little while, and we're not doing it this week either. But I think probably next week we will have more to do with it. We normally talk about community spotlight, and we normally talk about shout outs for random companies, etc. If you would like to have your models shown here live on the show, you might be putting them already on the Facebook page, but if you want to have them here distributed on the channel here so that Carl and I can have a look at them, we can talk about them as part of the live chat, maybe you just want to show off some of the stuff that you've done, maybe you've got a new technique and you want some criticism and you want to kind of get some people's thoughts on it, then this is absolutely the place to do it. Get in contact with us through Facebook or in the direct comments section to this video, and I'll get in contact with you and we'll have a chat about it. Likewise, if you know of a company or have a company, maybe a private business or something like that, something that's really cool, or you just had really good experience with a certain business and you just want to give them a shout out, or you want us to talk about them, then that's absolutely fine as well. We're a community and we want to know about everything. It's not like something that is a chargeable thing on this show. I'll gladly give links and talk about people's businesses, etc. So again, just get in contact with us. Also, if you'd like to be a guest on this show, love to have you on. There's no pressure, you don't have to. If you just want to kind of be a part of the conversation, then yeah, sure, we've got space for additional cameras on this screen and we're more than happy to have you on the show. Again, just get in contact with us. We've got a couple of rules and regulations that we like to abide by. This is a family show. We like to make sure that we don't swear or use bad phrases, etc. So there's just a couple of things that we need to have a chat with you, and we need to set it all up. So if you want to be a part of the show, please do get in contact with us and we'll make that happen for you. We have had lots of community spotlights and shout outs and things like that in the past, and if you want to see any of those people or places that we have spoken about, then all the links are in the description to this video. Please do go and have a look at them all. They are wonderful. Cool. Yeah, how is everybody getting on with all of their projects? I'd love to know how you're getting on. Drop some photos in there. Carl, you got access to the Facebook page. Give it a refresh. See what people have been putting in there.
Yeah, see if we've got anything coming up. We've got Darren just saying as well. He's cooking his tea and then he's going to have a couple of beers.
Oh yeah, Friday.
Evening.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Enjoy, relax.
I normally have a glass of wine at the end of the show. I haven't had beers for a little while. I like a glass of wine, but I haven't got one today. Got a bit of a headache, so I'm not going to do it. Anyway, let's move over to the workbench where I was. Here I am. So
I just had a look as well, just looking at the Facebook, that Adrian's put up those shoulder pads.
Yes.
Just having a look at that. Looks real nice.
Wonderful. I'll have a look at those when we finish the show. It'd be nice to have a look. So here's my Carnifex. Do you see what I mean by it's just dulled right down? It's exactly what I wanted. I love the yellow. It really does stand out. But I haven't done a sludge wash. I really was quite careful where I applied it. How I applied it is a little bit heavier in some places. That's just because of the method that I used when I applied it. I saw that it was going down heavy, and in some places I left it because I wanted it to be random and light. I wanted it to have a natural flair to it, especially an organic, it's skin essentially. But I compare it to some of my other models, and I went in very heavy on these, and I like the difference. Some of my models, like my Broodlord, which is one model that I was particularly proud of, even that still looks a little bit dense, still looks a bit heavy. So I thought to myself that the next time I do this, I'm going to go in and I'm going to make sure that I apply that wash not so heavy, and then I'm going to pick out all the highlights and details with a dry brush afterwards. So yeah, I'm happy with that. It's really good. There is one thing that I might actually cover. This is a good opportunity to get the community's thoughts on this. I'm just going to hold my Carnifex on the screen for a minute because I know that you've got the delay. So on the Carnifex, this particular one, he has giant, great, big, huge crab claws. And I wonder if you can see so clearly, but there is a feature on these arms, and it is the forearm. So you've got the bicep, tricep area here, and the shoulder up the top under the carapace. Then it comes down to an elbow, and unfortunately it does look like it's all kind of just blurring to one big yellow mass on the screen. And here's the forearm, the claws at the end, but this section here looks like it should be armoured. Now I could just leave it yellow. I've painted it yellow, so I've got the decision to make now. If I want to, I can leave it, or I can paint it grey like the rest of the carapace. What do you think? What does the rest of the community think? I'm going to leave the shoulder and this part of the arm here yellow because I want it to be. But do you think I should armour this part of the arm? I think I should.
It looks like it should be armoured. I see what you mean. It does look like it.
It's supposed to be reminiscent of a crab claw, and if I remember right on crabs, they are armoured all the way up, aren't they?
They have, yeah. Well, they're a full exoskeleton.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I'm thinking about having the pincers here, like the claw, as grey, and this section here is grey, and then I'll probably do the kind of tendon flesh, if you like, in between those two. I'll probably do that my new trademark pinky kind of colour to make it look, I don't know, tender and whatever, muscles and stuff. And then I'll have the shoulder and stuff here as yellow. What does everybody think about that? I'd like to get your feedback on it.
I'll keep an eye on the comments for that whilst you're painting away and just see what people think.
Excellent. Here's my little acid pool. It's starting to dry. I'm going to leave it alone for a little bit because it does need to dry fully. During the break, I just basically feathered it more. Feathered it. It's quite hard to see in the bleaching out lights there. I'll put photos up of it after the show so you can see it. I might actually do that right now. But basically, you can see that it now has a darker side and a lighter side. And I'm just going to graduate that brightness the closer it gets to the shore that way, and it should stand out. It looks a lot more green to my eyes than it does on the camera, but I have noticed that the playback is much clearer, so hopefully you guys can see it. I'll take a photo of that right now and I'll upload it to Facebook.
I can definitely see that nice gradient change there.
Cool.
It's going really nice.
Yeah, it looks like there's a much definite margin on the screen. What I'm looking at here, here it looks a lot more gradient, if that's the right word, gradient. Yeah, there's a better gradient to it.
Yeah.
Let's see what I can get. Let me go. I'm on Facebook. Here I go.
See what happens.
I'd like to create a post, please. Thank you very much.
Look at this, multitasking.
I know.
Social media tasking. Fantastic. How has everyone's week just been? Just thinking about the community. I hope you've all had a good week. I hope it's gone all right. Were you all looking forward to your Friday paint? I know I have been. Got me through the week this week. It's been hectic. It's oddly, as Danny said before, I'm going for my teacher training at the moment. We kind of felt like we were working to a deadline to get to the end of this week to have all the children back in for next week. But it feels like we're about to go on a break. Like we've got to the deadline, we've done it. But actually, what happens at the end of this week is it gets busier, which is awesome. So no, it'll be good to have.
Yeah, but it'll be nice to have a sense of normality back, though, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There we go. Pictures up. So, I've got on my wet palette, just to my left, I've got my Administratum Grey with a tiny bit of water added into it. And because it's on a wet palette, moisture is coming from underneath, and it will keep that paint active for a long time. And it adds a bit of moisture as you go. So if you add too much moisture now, too much water now, you can, like I was finding earlier on, it just gets a bit too wet. And then you have to add more paint because the consistency goes all over the place. And I think that's what I was struggling with last week. So
we've had our first comment come in as well. Adrian said, yeah, do that forearm in your grey scheme. If nothing else, it will make it look like a heavily armoured creature.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
We'll lend to that nature of it being heavily armoured.
Yes. Wonderful. Thanks for your feedback.
How the Angels of Blood coming along?
Yeah.
How those backpacks coming along, Adrian? I take it then are you painting on sprue? If you're doing backpacks separately, how is that going ahead for you? Because I always just get excited like a little schoolboy, make my models, and then just struggle to paint around. I think Adrian's a little bit more disciplined with his painting. What are you up to? Do you know what I've noticed, Danny?
What's that?
I really can't multitask. Trying to paint and talk. Ooh.
It's a skill I've had to learn on the occasions where you've not been on.
I mean, I know I struggle walking and breathing at times, so I think trying to paint and talk is a real step up. Darren as well said definitely armoured. Go armoured.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's the general consensus, isn't it?
Yeah. It's my 2 cents as well. It'll look good armoured. That's what I would do. I mean, I wouldn't paint a Carnifex if I were you personally. They're not needed. They've been nerfed. Don't worry about them, Danny. But that's kind of my response to anything I don't want to play on the battlefield. So, yeah, don't worry about it.
I've not used a Carnifex against you, have I? Have I?
Yes, you have, yeah.
Have I?
Yes, against my Tau.
I don't remember. It was so insignificant, Kyle. I can't remember.
Yeah, it didn't last long. I remember that much.
Did it not?
No, it took I think it took 4 fusion blasters to the face from my.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
Cold Star commander.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, didn't last long on the battlefield. But that thing was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's not it being nerfed at all. That's just it going up against 4 fusion blasters
at short range.
Tell, man. Do you remember that game that we played? I'm sure we've mentioned it before on the show, where I spent the entire game getting close to you, and then I realised I was going to charge into a gun line, and then turned around.
And ran away very promptly.
The entire game was like Mad Max. Is a story about people going in one direction, only to turn around and go back again.
Yeah. I like it. It was that. Got literally within charge range, went, oh, hang on a minute, don't all your guys Overwatch? Yeah, no, they do, yeah.
See ya.
Okay. I'm gonna go sit on them objective instead. Good idea, strong.
Did I win? Did I win that?
You did, yeah, technically. Technically you won it.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted you to say it, mate.
Yeah, thanks. You won by points, but we know who the real victor was there.
Yeah.
Superior firepower, that's who that victor was.
So superior you couldn't finish me off enough to stop me from winning.
I think you did that annoying thing where you bring on a unit again.
Oh yeah, that is my trademark move.
Ridiculousness.
Endless Swarm. I did that against my Eldar opponent. He still beat me.
I was just looking. Sorry, Adrian just popped up. Answering that question. Sorry. Oh. Onto the final colour. Nice. Painting off the sprue, but separate to the model. I see what you mean. Yeah. So you've cut them out and you're painting away. I have quite dry hands, so I'm not worried. I'm not too worried about sweaty palms, fingers damaging the paint. Nice.
Yeah, my zone thropes have actually had a coat of satin varnish, so I can handle them. They're an odd shape and size that if I put them on like a model handle or a cork or something like that, they're just too far away from the point of control, so I actually hold them. This particular one here has a couple of bits on some of the points on him where I've actually worn it away, where I've done that coat and haven't gone over with the varnish. But yeah, I varnish mine as I go to help removing paint with my hands.
Very interesting. That's something I've never thought about.
Yeah, well, that's why painting handles really exist. It's so that you can handle it without removing what you've already applied.
That is what I'm using right now. This is a gift, in fact.
Oh, you got the Games Workshop one.
Yeah.
I've got one down here. It's actually in a box. So I'll show you at the end of the show. I'll pull him out. But I've got a Ronson one, which is just a different brand essentially. It's a wooden handle. It's much thinner, and it has a metal vise on the top. Does the same job. But yeah, it's brilliant. And I can actually unscrew the handle from the top, so I can have it really close up in my hand if I want to, or I can have it on a handle, which is really comfortable. That was a gift as well.
Nice. Look at that.
I find that particularly useful for infantry-sized characters.
Yeah. I mean, I'm finding it really handy with the Space Marines at the moment, actually. It is a lot easier than just trying to hold the base.
I see people actually buy quite a few of them, don't they? They can have like up to 10 of them, so they'll have each Marine on one, and then they'll be doing like spray jobs on them at the same time.
Yeah. Fair play.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about today is shaky hand syndrome, because here I am doing my detail work, and I've got persistently shaky hands, and this is something that I'm getting more of as
Are you having enough potassium? That is a contributor to shaking hands.
I think potassium. I think so.
Make sure you have your bananas before you paint. Little pre-painting snap.
Pre-paint bananas.
Yeah.
That will not be a motto of the show.
You don't get to decide that, Danny, if that's what the people want.
Don't say that. Now they'll want it. People didn't want Boatface until someone said it. You didn't want Hypoxia, the bloody whirlwind or whatever he is. The Neomic whirlwind.
It's what the people want. But yeah, it's something, obviously with the techniques I'm using, it's not something I've really had to think about, but I know I've come across it before with different sort of painting. When I've done other miniatures, that shaky hand thing.
The more I focus, the more I'm trying to develop my skill. I'm trying to improve my speed and just my general technique as I go to make it look a little less childish, make it look a little bit less comic-y, try and get those lines really defined and smooth and in one stroke or a fewer strokes. But the more I try to concentrate, the more I try to push on that, the shakier my hands get. Like, there's only so much dexterity my limbs can handle, and the threshold for that is very small. So yeah, I get to here and I'm bracing and my hands start to shake. Not a lot, I mean you can barely see it, but it's enough to be an issue.
It's just a little fun fact related to it. I don't know if you remember Neil Buchanan,
Yes.
Art Attack. He, I believe, did make it into art school because of his shaky hands.
I have heard that before, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's obviously something that you can either overcome or train out of, or minimise, definitely.
Or ignore and go and have your own telly show.
Yeah, or just go and be successful.
Yeah.
Either one. We've got a few comments going in now. Adrian said enough sugar. That's a good point. Yeah. Getting low sugar. His hands shake like Billy. I
hope I've got enough sugar. I hope my diet's all right. I'm a vegetarian and I am watching my diet at the moment, and I wonder if that actually has an effect. I want to say it's not a factor because my diet is pretty good, and I am just basically portion control more than anything, because during lockdown and not being very active, I'm getting fat. And I don't want to be, man. This is the fact. This is the biggest I've ever been. I am 12.5 stone, and I don't want to be 12.5 stone. So I'm just, I'm not having a diet or anything like that. Although I'm at the age for it, I suppose. But I'm just trying to watch what I eat. So that could be a factor. I mean, there's always going to be an element of shaky hands when you're trying to do detailed work, but it's just, the more I try to do it, the more frustrating it gets. So it just kind of perpetuates. And this was just a discussion I had with Mike Turner, who we've seen in the comments. Sometimes he's not online right now, but he is active on our Facebook. He watches back on replay. And he suggested to me in a private chat a video to watch about a guy talking about shaky hands. I haven't had the chance to watch it yet, but I just thought it was an interesting topic. And I like to just bring interesting things to discuss to the show, because there might be other people out there who just suffer terrible shaky hands and want to know if there's a way to deal with it. I will find this video. It has been linked to me, and I will share it as a part of the description, so the comments to this video. So give it a couple of days, because I do have to wait for it to be kind of like finalized and uploaded by YouTube Central. And when I'm allowed to edit it, I will then go back and I will add the video link so you can see it yourselves.
Darren said, try pressing your little finger down on the table while the rest of your hand holds the brush.
Got a problem with that? All my fingers are broken. But yeah, all right, cool. I will try.
It's something I do as well. I ground that finger down. It's like my grounding finger to help
Okay, I'm trying now. My hands are kind of locked together, and you can see the only pinky finger that actually works is now on the mat there. So let's see how that works. From what Mike was saying to me, this gentleman in his video suggested that actually beer, to have a bottle of beer or a drink of beer, can actually really help.
That'll be the minerals again, though. Beer is oddly rich in a lot of.
It is. I used to work at a brewery, so yeah. But of course, there's a moderation that you should watch for there.
Definitely, especially when you're thinking about close, precise work. I think it's quite a fine line there, but yeah, be interesting to find out if that works.
Yeah,
I still think a little banana beforehand.
Okay, do you know what? I'm going to put this to the test. I'm actually going to do experiments with this throughout the week.
Nice.
And I'll come back to you with my findings. Also, it'd be interesting to know if other people do beer tests or banana tests. Which one are you going to do, you guys? And then just let us know.
Nice.
Does anybody else suffer from terrible shaky hands? Adrian obviously says that he suffers from low sugar.
When I suffer, I definitely suffer from low sugar as well, but I get migraines from it, so it's something I have to be really.
You struggle horribly with migraines, though, don't you?
Yeah, unfortunately. One of those things, but that is one of my big triggers, is my blood sugar. Blood sugar and fluids. If I let myself get dehydrated, or I let my blood sugar drop too much, I'm out with a migraine. So they are, the majority of them are controllable, if that makes sense. I know if I haven't looked after myself, it's kind of my own fault. I'd expect to get one. And then every now and then I just get one just for the fun of it.
Well, remember a couple of weeks ago I was just suffering from random headaches, and I mentioned it in one of the shows where I'd just been down for a couple of weeks and wasn't able to paint an awful lot because I was just getting these random headaches. And I went to the doctor and they were like, oh, this is really weird, sounds like tension headaches, could be migraines, but neither, but both. And then one day they just stopped. So yeah, that was even more interesting. But yeah, you've got to know that I don't really have those anymore.
Oh, good. That is good. Because remember, we were chatting about that. That can be quite debilitating, isn't it?
They can be. And what's worse is that with a migraine is that you'll lose a day.
Yeah, you're toast.
Minimum. Yeah, it is. You can't. Yeah, and you just sit there thinking about all the cool stuff that you could be doing. So yeah, it's awful.
Lose a day and then have a fragile day the next day where I've got to be careful.
Yeah, I wasn't getting those. It would come on really, really quickly and then it would just disappear. Yeah.
But yeah, as agents, but any excuse to have a beer.
Yeah, of course.
But now it's science. If we write about it and talk about it, we can claim it's science. Look.
For science.
For science. And
art.
And how often do those two things collaborate? Bridging community. It's what we do. Sorry, by the way, I probably should have explained this earlier on. I keep having to sort of turn away from the camera due to my new setup. My table is now next to me.
That's fine, mate. It's fine.
I feel at the table, if that makes sense, because my weird little setup. But it means I don't sit on the floor, so I will take it.
Yeah, you can't have that constant bad back issue, mate.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested actually. Stafford joins us whenever he can. I don't believe he's live right now. I probably watch it back on playback. Stafford, if you do get a chance to watch this, I hope you're well. But I do remember he was talking about converting his attic space into a painting station, and I would like to know how that is going.
Yes. Jeff just put, what about banana beer? You can get banana beer.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Brilliant.
Potassium.
You know, we spoke about having big get-togethers and going off to a convention and whatever. Maybe like the community drink should be banana beer.
Banana beer. Why? Because it helps you paint your miniatures. I like it. We could receive. Thinking long term, we could talk about sponsorship.
Yeah.
But brilliant.
How many have you got done there, Kyle?
So the red is now done on 4 of them. I completely forgot I left the sergeant model downstairs. So I'm just doing the 4 troopers today, but they're all red now. I put a bit more red on than I have before. So I'm quite intrigued to see how it comes out. I think they needed just a touch more, so I'll see how they come out in comparison. So I might stop there, or I might put the orange over the top.
Do you need to go and grab another one to compare?
I've actually got them here. It's more the light situation.
Fair.
I want to look at them in natural light.
Did you say you'd ordered a light?
I haven't ordered it yet. It's still in my shopping basket. Simply just because this week has just flown past on me. I genuinely can't believe it's Friday at the moment. I got so many things didn't get done this week. But yeah, this week has just gone so fast. I've not even thought to go back on and sort of finish my shopping. But this setup, I think, with a light, could be the go. This could be it.
You look comfortable. You look comfortable.
Much more comfortable. What are we on? Episode 17? So what's that? Just over 4 months? Finally cracked it. Oh, Darren says, hey, do you mean that you drink banana beer regularly, Darren? Or just beer in general? But if you do, fantastic. We'll have to. I will look out for a banana beer. See if it helps my painting. I probably will think it helps my painting. Oh, and we've got a picture of the backpacks that Adrian has been painting as well. Over on the Easy 8 Facebook page.
Excellent.
Hey, backpacks are done. Oh, nice. I forgot, I've not looked at anything Chaos in such a long time. I forgot they had those sort of extended out vents on their backpacks.
It's just a nice way of stylising, isn't it, and making that
just
difference.
To show that difference.
Yeah. Oh, struggling again with the grey. It must be something to do with showtime pressure, because I was doing all right earlier on, but yeah, it's such a slow process that I hope that when I come back to do it with the Carnifex, because the contrast is going to be less on here. Excuse me, got the hiccups. Because the contrast will be much less bold. I hope that when I come to do those sorts of details, that they'll be less pronounced, they'll be less poppy, and I won't have to be so careful. That's not to say that I'm going to be sloppy with it, but where it won't show up my mistakes so easily is what I'm hoping for. But it's just...
Is that the plan with this Carnifex to
sort
of adjust that sort of paint scheme?
Yeah, this is basically now this is my development stage, if you like. So I've got a colour scheme that works and an appearance that I like, and I like all the streaks on the grey, and I like the boldness of the yellow. But now it's time to kind of refine that process in, and hopefully I'm trying to get somewhere between not being grim like what yours is, but somewhere that's quite gritty and realistic, and also at the same time quite pretty, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. It's that in between, because even just looking at the Citadel paint range, you can see it as a very sort of fantasy-driven, high vibrant colour, and yeah, just that little in-between ground, because you still want those colours to be vivid and to pop, but to show a little bit of that grittiness as well would be quite nice. It would look very cool.
I've got here
some really nice, whilst I was on my search for grim dark, that kind of middle ground of painting.
I've got here this acid pool base, which my lights are bleaching out, but if I bring it into view, you can see again it still looks like there's quite a stark margin on the camera here. In my view, it is quite well staged, but I'm now just going to add another colour on there. So previously I had done a mix of dark and sick green. And what I think I'm going to do now, rather than a step up, you love that, don't you? I don't know why that is. It's not brassy brass, though, is it?
It's not brassy brass, it's bronzy bronze. But if you're going to name a colour, I mean, sick green, I love it. Absolutely. What does it look like? It looks like sick, doesn't it?
Looks like sick, the green.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a 50-50 blend of sick green and Escorpina green. I'm making sure that I take my time to say that properly.
Nice, yeah.
I have a feeling that might be like a foreign language that I'm absolutely butchering up there.
So any apologies?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I just turn my lights away.
If you know how to say it, write it down in the comments, but it doesn't really help us.
So I'm just going to put a blob of sick green in there.
Strong.
And then I'm going to put an equal amount of Escorpina green. you notice I'm concentrating because I paused. And I'm going to mix these two together, and this time I'm just going to play with how I use it with the medium. I'm going to put the medium on the base first, and then I'm going to apply this into it and just see how that works. Because if I remember right, that's how I did it when I did my first one.
It's such a small point, but just watching you put the paints on your palette there.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I want to move away from Citadel and go to dropper bottles.
You can get Citadel paints in dropper bottles, I think, or you can just buy empty dropper bottles and apply it. Transfer it, decant it is the word I was looking for there.
But my point there is, I'm already paying so much for a Citadel paint, I then don't want to have to go buy a second bottle.
That's true.
But yeah, just be able to, number one, getting the paint out on the palette is just that much easier than using a brush.
It's my only real gripe with Citadel.
Gives you that more control, and for mixing, just allows you to see your quantities a bit better. I feel with the dropper bottles, to be a bit better when you're making your own mixes.
These lids are hit and miss as well, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, they just
kind of pop over and they pop over and close all the time. I'm
so nervous today with not being at a table. And everything to the side of me means I'm opening my paint sort of over me, if that makes sense. And I've already had one accident during these podcasts already, so I'm
Yeah.
all concentration is going into
The rug episode.
the rug episode. Oh god. I think I'm finally, and I think that's finally forgotten. I think I'm finally-
Unfortunately, mate, YouTube says we remember.
Yeah. It's on there now.
Okay, so I've got my green mixed up in there. My lights do bleach it out, but see, no. Okay, cool, whatever. Get a nice amount on my brush. It is quite warm in here in this room today, and my paints are drying pretty rapidly. Deliberately put the heating on because it was Baltic down here earlier on. So yeah, this medium had already 50% dried by the time I got that paint to it. So I should have probably mixed that first, but whatever.
See what happens.
Yeah. So I've got a nice mark on there now, and again, just like I did earlier, I'm just going to feather it out, and this time I'm just going to use a wet brush. So I've got my piece of kitchen towel here, just so I can constantly clean my brush as I go. I do like to make sure I look after my brushes now. And I'm just going to try and feather it out bit by bit. So I'm just going to try and pull it away from the main colour there. Then as it comes away into the darker colours, I can then try and remove it so that it doesn't cover over the previous transitions.
I see. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm actually talking technical stuff here, or if I'm just kind of making it up as I go along, but that's the whole point of this, is just to kind of play and have a bit of fun, and then just of course chucking models everywhere. Well done, Danny, well done.
Strong.
Yeah, already got quite a nice transition, quite a nice blend on there.
It's nice to see a bit of time being spent on the bases as well.
Yes, and that allows me.
We've spoken about a lot.
Yeah,
Spoken about it quite a lot.
and that takes me into a segue into, that's a really nice effect I've got there, I'm actually really into that, is I want to talk more about bases. We've spoken, like you say, quite a bit on what you do on a base to, you know, to make it look cool. You said that you want to do like an alien world thing with your blood angels. I do my acid pool base or my cracked earth thing to make it like, you know, an alien landscape in its own way. That's a really good effect. I like that. That's really cool. But I want to know what other people do physically to them. You know, do you are you one of those people that likes to make big hero-scapes for your characters? Do you put like big rocks or big pieces of terrain on your bases? Do you try to blend that terrain in with existing terrain that you have? How do you fix the model to the top of it? Are you into pinning? Is that something that you try and do? And I also want to go into the world of flight bases or flying bases. Not the big flyers, but the little flight stands that you get for jet bikes and that you get for the jetpack troops, etc. I just kind of want to know what people think about them, what they do, problems that they have, problems that we can solve, because this all comes from Mellabrook, who I was talking to last week in a private chat. Obviously he's doing his jet bikes, his Eldar jet bikes, and very few of them, if any of them, have flight stands because the tops of them always snap. The old style clear pegs just snap off at the top, and I just kind of wanted to see if that is something that happens to everybody, if that's a problem that other people have countered by, you know, doing something else or buying a different product. I just thought it would be a nice opportunity to discuss that, because here I am doing scenic bases.
I put up my suppressors, the first unit that I painted on this show, in fact. And
Yes.
I popped it up on I think it was a Reddit community page, and someone just came back and said, actually, there's lots of things out there now for different flying bases, especially with jump pack models. So rather than just having that clear stand, they've got them so it adds, so it's looking like it's the smoke coming out.
Yeah, that's
the
one thing that
jetpacks
I've seen.
like that. And yeah, I sort of had a quick look into it, and there are companies out there that are just kind of giving better options for flying bases, and sort of sturdier, better looking ones that you would use for jet bikes and sort of hovering vehicles and things like that. So yeah, I've seen a few. Also got Mellabrook jumped in the comments there. The jet bikes gracefully glide across the floor, jet-propelled toboggans.
It's not necessarily a problem because, of course, the model's still there. But when you go into combat, you need to be base to base for the rules to actually work properly. Now, it's going to be mostly a problem in tournaments, not necessarily for your friendly game battles like we often play, Kyle, because you just go, okay, well, I'm just going to be in base contact with the jet bike. But all the bases are sized in accordance with how much space they take up, according to how powerful they are. Tyranid Warriors, this is something that I found out by accident just the other day, is that they've always had 40mm bases, like this Zone Throat. This is a 40mm base, and your Terminators for your Space Marines come on them, Tyranid Warriors, anything in that kind of elite scale will go onto those. But Tyranid Warrior is a little bit better now, so they've given them 50mm bases, and they've only just started releasing them. There are still the 40mm bases out on the shelf, so you can pick the old ones up still. In fact, the 50mm base is actually quite rare at the moment, but they have changed them. So that's a thing. Are people going to be changing their bases? They did this with the Space Marines just prior to the Primaris launch. The old bases were being updated from 28mm or 25mm to 32. That is a considerable footprint when you're talking about a little miniature, and it's just something that I thought, you know, it'd be interesting to see how people have dealt with it. If you've already made a scenic base and then you put the the little connectors on the outsides, the little rings that increase the size of your base if you wanted to, that's still more base for you to have to then paint. Or do you just replace the entire base? Or do you just not care about bases? And like Mellabrook says, he's got Eldar toboggans. You know?
This is interesting. I've spoken to another friend about this. About, I don't know how we got onto the topic, but how cool would it be with technology how it is now, that you could make little electromagnets to hide into your basing, so your hoverers actually hovered.
That is kind of cool. That is kind of cool, but that is asking for a table swipe, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, how cool would that be?
I mean, my bases, being Tyranids with Hormigauns, I suffer from toppling base syndrome. So, are there any counters to that? A couple of my Hormigauns, where they're reaching out forwards, I've actually got little bits of garden wire discreetly stuck into the front, and they curl out forwards. So they just kind of emulate the claws reaching out, and they stop it from toppling over. But it makes it a bit of a nightmare trying to move around the base because it just catches on everything else. I've seen people add lead weights or just general pennies and stuff underneath their bases. I don't really like adding pennies. I think it's a little bit. I like to be a bit more technical, but it is a solution. I know
that's the solution. That's the solution I've seen used before. Is under the base, just add in.
There's liquid metal, which actually isn't liquid. It's just very, very small beads, like ball bearings, and you would apply an area of super glue, and you would just pour this into it, and it will just add metallic weight under the base. If anyone's got any solutions, we're coming out quite close to the end of the show now, but if you've got any solutions, or you come up with any ideas or links, or people that are providing really decent bases out there, because I know that there are like now ball and swivel mounts for jet bikes and things like that. If you think of any of these suggestions, put them in the description, I keep calling it the description, in the comments to this video, and then link it over on Facebook as well. That would be absolutely grand, so that everyone can see where to go, because that's the main thing about the show, is that we all kind of get to share and see what everybody else does. My base is drying slower than I want it to now, but what I did with this one is you'll see my motions in a minute on the screen, but I was streaking outwards like this.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, and it's left this really interesting kind of pattern. I really like it.
Nice.
And I've only got a couple of colours left to go now, so I'll probably do a little bit of scorpion green, let's call it that. Scorpina green, and then I'll do a nice fine line of light livery green, and that'll just be like a real nice, right up close to the shoreline and it will just make it look that kind of yellowy, greeny, acidy colour, something that you don't want to stand in. And then it's just gloss paint, gloss paint, gloss paint. Something that my dad did some years ago with Purple Line Creations is in the comments. Jeff Lacey, say hi. He and I were playing around with resin pools. So we had made resin craters, and we were filling them with resins and paints and whatever to see what sort of effects we could get. When I went home one day, he carried on playing around, and I came down the next day and he had this beautiful effect, and very few of them exist now because we actually damaged them by accident. But if I can find one in good condition, I'll bring it out for another show. But it was resin, poured literally liquid resin or varnish, one of the two, into the crater with paint, and then just dropped dots of yellow paint into the green, and it just kind of bled in ever so slightly as it started to dry, and it left this such a wonderful natural colour that you couldn't replicate if you tried. And we did several of them, and they looked absolutely fantastic. I don't know if it would be easy to try and do it on a base this size, especially when I'm only doing small patches of it, but I've always got that in my mind when I come to do these, these little acid pools. Yeah, I'll see if I can find this to bring them out. It'd be kind of cool.
I just want to say sorry, I missed it in the comments when it first came up. Just hello to Jeanette. She joined in.
Oh, did we?
In a little while back.
Yeah. I see you, Jeanette, right at the top of the list up there now. Cool. Good evening. Late to the party, all, but I've been watching Attack on Titan with Amira. Yeah, Attack on Titan is amazing and a little bit dark. Nice to see you, Jeanette. Sorry we missed you. Thanks for coming along and making it the view count. It's always welcome. Thank you very much. But we are pretty much there at the end of the show. We've got a couple of minutes left to go. I'm just wondering if I can get another line of this Escorpina green in there. Now I'm gonna just squeeze it. I'm just gonna basically, I'll put a little block in there, and I'm gonna mix it 50-50 with Lamy and medium, just so I can have that runny, almost glaze. And then I'm just gonna basically do a nice thickish kind of border up against the shoreline, which will have a thinner line of light livery green over the top of it later on, and then it's just going to be glossing.
Lots of gloss.
Yeah, it's just several layers of gloss. As soon as it's dry, put another one on, and because obviously gloss just makes it nice and smooth and shiny, makes it look liquidy. And then I'll be playing with the UV resin over the coming weeks, and I'll be trying to do something with the Carnifex. I might do like you're standing over a stream of it or something. This is quite a stark green, so I don't want it to necessarily go everywhere, and I'll be quite controlled with it, because it could ruin some of the wonderful effects I've already got in there, and it might just also be a bit too much. I'm going to go for a thinner brush. I'm going to go for my little micro sable thing. Here we go. Oh,
I was gonna say something then. You've got it. But Darren's just popped in there and said seen water resin for like model railways and things like that. That's only help. Which could be
it was one of the things that we toyed around with when we were playing with those resin pools, those craters, and it's wonderful stuff, but it's really easy to ruin. That's how we ruined it, is we wrapped them in bubble wrap, and it left the impression of bubble wrap in it, and it never disappeared.
Okay.
So it's great for dioramas, not great for miniatures. The ones that we use anyway. That's not to say that there aren't some out there. But yeah, it was really easy to use. There are different types. There was one that we just kind of poured out of a bottle. There's another one that you have to melt in a pan. So that's obviously quite resource consuming, isn't it? Is one in a pan like that.
I've only really used sort of resins to fix circles. That's kind of my only experience with resins.
There are so many different types. So many different types. It's quite a stark colour there. I might see if I can try and bleed that down, or should I just leave it and let it dry? Because it might just tone down a bit. I do want to kind of just. No, it's drying already. I'm not going to touch it. I'll ruin it. I can see that it's drying. I'm not gonna move it.
Make that decision for you then.
It's a little bit stark at the moment, so I might later on. I might come back and I might add more mid layers out where I've already applied that to see what it does. I'll also put some gloss over the top, because that will make it a little bit easier to control, but it might also change the effect of it a little bit. Anyway, so that's everything from me. I struggle doing my detail work tonight, as I always do. I think I'm just probably getting a bit fed up with doing the detail work on those zone throats, and I hope to improve or change my technique so that when I come to do the Khan effects, it'll be a bit easier. What's your success story today, Kyle?
Oh, I got through pretty much everything I wanted to get through today, which is
Yeah.
just all started with actually getting my model spray painted. Look, always helpful.
Yeah, brilliant. I'm always here to remind you, man. Always here to help you.
Thanks for that reminder. I probably could have done my last layer, but I just want to see them in the daylight. I think it's a slight mistake I made on my last Hardman squad, is that I went straight into my orange without checking them in daylight, where I don't have the best lighting.
Yeah.
And I just wanted, actually, they might have needed another coat of red before I moved on to the orange. So I very well may go back and just apply a little bit more.
It's okay.
That's the good thing with dry brushing, is it's such a thin layer going on. I don't feel bad if I need to go on for another couple layers. It's not going to affect the detail at all, I don't think, on the model. So I can always go back.
Take your time. Less is more. Build it up, because it's always easier to add more than it is to take something away. You often have to start all over again at that point. Yeah.
So yeah, I'll have a look at that, and then hopefully I can get that orange on. I'd like to actually get that. These models finish before next week.
Oh.
I will see how that goes.
Fingers crossed for you.
Yeah, so next week you'll see me finishing those models off. So no, it's been good. It's been, yeah,
so hopefully then, are we looking to moving to the Sanguinary Guard next week? Is that what we're doing here?
Oh, we could be. I need to get hold of some brassy brass, and then some oils.
I would send you the oil paint that I've got, but it's tricky to send in the post, and it might get damaged.
Yeah.
But I picked it up. It's a Winsor and Newton paint, and I picked it up from my local art shop for £1. It was really, that's why I picked it up. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I picked up those two, and I also picked up this brush here, just because it looked like a good one. It turns out it's actually a really good set of bristles on it. So, yeah, that was like £2, and it was a sable brush. Not as good quality as the other ones. It's not lasting as long, but yeah. Anyway, I'd love to know how everybody else's success stories are going on. So if you've been doing some work today, don't forget, while the show's on, well, just as the show's about to end, take a little photo, load it up onto the Facebook page. What I'd like to see from now on, I'd like to see everyone kind of just loading up pictures of the work that they've done at the end of the show, and then we have like a big image dump at the end of every live show. That'd be great. Yeah, brilliant. Cool. Jeff Lacey has said it was Woodland Scenic's water effect. Stays soft. Good for dioramas. Yeah, it was beautiful results that were just too easy to destroy. So we ended up using varnish in the end, or I'm sure it was like pourable varnish out of the bottom. It was just so much better. Because it lasted. And if you're a war gamer, you're handling the models all the time, taking them out of packaging, putting them back again, storing them on a shelf if it's terrain, and it was just too much for that stuff. Beautiful stuff, but not appropriate for our uses, unfortunately. Yeah, we are at the end of our show. Don't forget, if you haven't already, to follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. Like everything that comes along and click those little thumbs up everywhere. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to this YouTube channel. Every little bit helps. Share it, shout about it, tell your friends, even if you think that they're not necessarily into the stuff that we do, because every subscribe goes a long way. Don't forget also to tag the little bell icon on the bottom of your screen, because that will always ensure that you're always reminded about every show that we do, even if we do an unscheduled one later on. You never know, I might do like a little product review, and it will tell you when we're going to go live. So there you go. I've had a great evening. It's actually been quite productive compared to last week. Still haven't finished those zoanthropes, but they're going to be done this week. They are going to be done, Kyle.
They will. It will happen.
It's going to happen. So yeah.
Yeah, it's been nice. I've been productive. I know some weeks I don't get too much done, but no, got some stuff done this week. I've still got to work on, especially when I'm reading comments, because obviously I get the advantage of seeing myself on a 20-second delay. I need to smile more. I apologise. It is. Yeah,
it is easy to lose it and to focus. Kyle and myself are generally carefree, happy, smiley people. So if we come across as mean and aggressive and generally undesirables, we're not like that at all. No, come and have a chat.
Concentrated face.
Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, that's it for another week. It's been great. You guys have been fantastic. I've been Danny.
I've been Kyle.
This has been Easy 8 Online Painting Club. Please don't forget to join us next week. Bring your grey and unpainted models, and let's get some paint on them. Until next week, see you again. Cheers now.
Don't forget to have your bananas beforehand.
Banana beers. banana beers, man. That's it. If that becomes our motto, I'll be so cross.